Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Wednesday, August 11th. This is your daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Orr. The Minnesota game is in 22 days. The game against Michigan in 108 days. There is also another big announcement, which is 0 days away. On Wednesday morning, Buckeye Scoop's going to have a very exciting announcement. Keep your eyes open for that. We'll probably have that on social media. We'll have that on our Ask the Insiders board. We've kind of been teasing that this is coming. It's really here. Wednesday morning, August 11th, sometime in the morning. We'll have that. Keep your eye out for that. I'm pretty excited about that. We'll probably talk about something related to that on tomorrow's morning show. But today, we need to talk offensive line. I'm joined today by Buckeye Scoop beat reporter Tony Gerdeman. On Tuesday, we got a chance to watch a little bit of practice. We got a chance to talk to Greg Stabara and a bunch of his offensive linemen. And I think, Tony, my takeaway from all of this is some of the rumors that we've been hearing that was kind of like this sort of crazy, like, can that be possibly be right, kind of reporting on position shuffles along the offensive line. That's moving very quickly from crazy rumors and reports to thing that might be happening.
Yeah, when it showed up last week on the Ask the Insiders board, it was like, well, okay, yeah, they try stuff. That's what they do during camp. And then when we were here on Tuesday, it was everything that was reported last week on the Ask the Insiders message board, and it was, yeah, okay, sure, fine. They're trying stuff out. But then when we talked to everybody afterwards, it sure seems like it's more than just trying stuff out. Like it is still trying stuff out, but it seems like it's working.
Yeah, and everyone was sort of asked, so what are the chances this will happen? And no one really wanted to put a percentage on it or say probably or maybe or probably not. But this is not the first day they're doing this. This is, this got reported last week. So this has been going on for at least a week now. They're continuing to do it. So obviously they like what they're seeing. Just to kind of let people know, we've talked about this already on the Morning Scoop a little bit, but Nick Petit-Frere moving from right tackle to left tackle, Thayer Munford kicking inside from left tackle to left guard, and then Dawand Jones moving into the starting lineup at right tackle. And I guess let's start with Dawand Jones, because he's kind of the guy who inspired all this. Thayer Munford said, and Stud said as well, like, this is all because Dawand Jones, like, it's coming together for Dawand Jones now. He's got the incredible size. He's very athletic. I mean, he is, they talk about tackles being like dancing bears. Like, he is the basketball athlete who just happens to also be football tackle sized. But he has all of that stuff, but it sounds like now things are starting to kind of fall into place for him. Like, wasn't a football player necessarily by training coming up, but it sounds like all of it's kind of coming together for him now.
Yeah, and we got a chance to talk to Dawand for, 10 or 15 minutes, and he went back to when he was being recruited and when he signed with Ohio State, and there were coaches that wanted him to say, tell us you love football, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't tell them that he loved football because he loved basketball. And so then he was asked, well, why did you come to Ohio State to play football? He's like, well, I had MAC basketball offers and Ohio State football offer. Like, it's a pretty easy decision. And so he had to eventually fall in love with football, but he is there now, and it has been his play that has forced the issue. It's, it would be one thing just to try stuff out, but they've tried stuff out, and he's been playing so well. Greg Stabara said at one point he's been dominating and in pass blocking during practice. And as Stud said, like, if you can block these defensive ends, he has no worries about anybody else. And somebody asked, well, what about, you got Oregon's Kayvon Thibodeau coming up. He's like, I'm not worried. Like, it was basically like, if you can block Zach Harrison, Tyreek Smith, all of these guys, then you're going to be a successful offensive tackle against anybody in the nation. So, yeah, it was one of these things that yeah, sure, okay, you got to see what he can play, see where he can play, see what he can do, and he's just run with it. And like as Stud said, like, you can't get around him, and you're not going to go through him.
Yeah, and that's the thing that makes him so intriguing as a prospect, because he's got the size where you're not going to just be able to bull rush him, but he's also got those quick feet where you're not going to be able to necessarily get around the edge on him. And yes, Oregon has a 5-star defensive tackle who's probably going to be a first-round draft pick in a year from now. Guess what Ohio State has? Probably several of those that he's facing every day in practice. So that absolutely does. I mean, how many times have we heard iron sharpens iron over the last couple of years? If it's 500, that might be low, but it's for a reason. And that is something they truly do believe in. And Dawand Jones, it sounds like it's just like can he do it consistently? Like, he can do it. Now they know he can do it. Can he do it consistently? So that moves Nick Petit-Frere from the right tackle spot over to the left tackle spot. He was asked about that, and he said he played a little left tackle when he first came in, and so this isn't like totally new to him. He says he does, like, he eats with his left hand, so this is, he's a little, he might be a little bit more of a left side guy than, than most people are, so that probably helps. But he said, like, all your technique, it's all the same. You're not changing your technique at all. It's just now you're doing it on the other side. All the same stuff you have to remember, keeping your pad level low, all that stuff. It's all the same. It's just now you're on the other side. So, I mean, how big of a concern is that, flip-flopping from one side of the line to another and having to do it in the span of fall camp?
Well, it would be concerning if you were asking maybe a younger player, but they've got the veterans. Nick Petit-Frere started last year. I think it's less concerning. Plus, we saw how well he played last year, where he was almost flawless as a right tackle. And he came to Ohio State. Everybody expected him to be a left tackle, but he's been just planted there at right tackle because of Thayer Munford. And so I think there's been an idea that maybe he would just move over next year, or Paris Johnson, whatever. But it's been interesting to watch, and the amount of acceptance, willingness from everybody, Nick Petit-Frere including, even though he's going from a position that he played very well to a more premier position. And some guys might be like, yes, finally. Other guys might be like, well, I'm kind of used to this. It's like, whatever is best for the team, that's what they're going to do. He's no different. Any concerns? We talked about it in maybe like Monday's Buckeye Weekly. Like, for me, there is a concern eliminating the best tackle duo in the nation, moving one guy in, moving the right tackle over to left tackle, and bringing a new right tackle. It changes everything. But, they wouldn't do it if it was hurting the team.
Yeah, I mean, they keep talking about getting the 5 best guys in the field. If you can get the 5 best guys in the field and feel comfortable about it, this is not 100% in stone. Stud said, they want to get through Saturday's scrimmage and you sort of see where things stand. But, he was asked, is this more about Dawand has, been so good that you have to get him on the field, or is this more like, well, we're not sure about our options at left guard, and so maybe this solves that? And he said, this is Dawand. Like, Dawand is driving this change. You mentioned Nick Petit-Frere going from right tackle to left tackle, not being a little bit more of a premier position. That's probably an easy sell in terms of, if you can show you can be a left tackle, that only improves your NFL draft stock. It's a little bit of a different conversation for Thayer Munford, because Thayer Munford is going from left tackle, which is like the number one position on the offensive line in terms of, who's getting paid in the NFL, to kicking inside to guard, which is like, well, if you can't hack it at tackle, then you play guard. And, it was kind of interesting because that seems like you're potentially asking someone to make some sacrifices. And he sounded like maybe that wasn't how he looked at it. He said he was the one who actually said to Stud, like, Dawand Jones is really good. You need to think about Dawand Jones. So this is, Thayer Munford has brought this on himself by being a good teammate, being selfless. What a jerk. But this also does, he talked about the fact that this also does potentially benefit him in terms of NFL as well, because he has 3 years of film as a left tackle. So now you have an opportunity, if NFL teams are like, I don't think you have the size or the quickness or whatever to play left tackle and then I get the league, but, do you think you could play guard? Well, now he potentially has a full year of film in the Big Ten, possibly in the college football playoffs, going against Alabama, Clemson type defensive linemen at guard, and then that answers that question.
Yeah, and it's similar to the Paris Johnson discussion in the spring, where you move and you give the scouts more to see. What was really interesting to me, and I think this was related to Dawand, I didn't hear it from Thayer, you probably did, but when Thayer chose to come back for his 6th year, he told Dawand Jones, like, if you play well, I will move inside. Like, if you show me that you can handle it, I will move inside. And he did. And so Thayer did. And it's just, that's a senior leader, a 5th-year senior leader who is just, it tells you everything you need to know about him, that he kind of made a promise, kept it, moved inside, whatever's best for the team. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, they'll go back and forth. But like this, Dawand Jones is taking things more seriously. Thayer Munford ready to do whatever it takes for the team, and that's the message that everybody was giving today.
And I think Thayer shared a different part of that conversation. Was he said, when he decided to come back, I think the expectation was Thayer Munford is not coming back. Thayer Munford is going to go to the NFL after the 2020 season. He got that extra COVID year. He decided maybe I want to put another year of good film out there. Have an opportunity to be the best tackle in the country, be an All-American. And he sort of amended that to now it's the best offensive lineman in the country if he's not a tackle. But he said when he had that conversation with Dawand, it was kind of like, that's a little bit of a bummer for Dawand, because I'm sure Dawand was thinking, okay, no more Thayer Munford. Now there's an open tackle spot. All of a sudden, there's not an open tackle spot if Thayer and Nick Petit-Frere are both coming back. Now Dawand has done enough that now there is an open tackle spot because Munford is potentially kicking inside. So those are the three guys who are kind of on the move there. It's interesting to me that Paris Johnson, did you get a chance to talk to Paris Johnson? Yeah, what's interesting to me about him is he's a guy who's coming in, has never started before, and now of the 5 guys on the offensive line, he might be the most sure thing, even though he's never started a game at Ohio State. He's, the 3 guys are returning starters, but they're all shuffling to different spots. Paris Johnson, who mostly came in as a tackle, played a little bit of guard last year, new starter. Now, in some ways, they're talking about him like he's the most sure thing. He's the only one you can really write into that starting lineup in ink, which is crazy to me.
Is it terrifying or is it impressive? I mean, this is supposed to be the best offensive line in the nation, and now, yes, the guy that you don't even talk about him because you're assured he's going to be fine. And he talked about last year he was a tackle playing guard, and it took a while, even in the spring, it took a while to turn into a guard and become that guard and stay low and do what he needed to do to handle the position. You can't just be the 5-star left tackle and I'll do some dalliances at guard, and now you have to actually become a guard, and he's embraced it, and it's a little more crowded in there. Pass blocking is a little bit easier, but the guys that you're blocking, they're not going to run away from you, but they are closer to the quarterback, so you've got to be, they're still quick and they can still do that, but it's a different position and it requires a different mentality, and he's finally embraced that, and he's ready to go. Like you said, there's no really concerns. There's nobody who's pushing Paris Johnson for number 2 at the right guard. Nobody.
Yeah, and the last spot on the offensive line, obviously center. We had seen Matt Jones there earlier in camp and in the spring. Sounds like Matt Jones is no longer in the mix at center. Sounds like that is a Harry Miller-Luke Whippler battle. Stud called him Whippler, so the debate rages on, I guess. But it sounds. My expectation is it's Harry Miller and then it's Luke Whippler. Harry talked about a bunch of stuff. We went into that in greater detail on the Buckeye Weekly episode we dropped on Tuesday. The fascinating stuff you hear when you're talking to Harry Miller, but. One of the things he talked about was you have to rewire your brain when you're changing positions, because when you're guard, it's like, okay, here's how I do all these stuff, and my brain is just wired to just it's just like boom, it's just you build the reps, and then you're doing this stuff without even thinking about it. He talked about the lizard brain and the medulla oblongata, and just you do it without even thinking about it. Then if you kick inside from guard to center, now all of a sudden, now I have to do all this other stuff. And, he ran into that in the Michigan State game last year. And, that you're kind of retraining yourself. And now your muscle memory is no longer exactly what you need it to be. Now he's had that full off season where he's just been working on center. So now, I think a lot of the snap issues that you saw in that Michigan State game from lack of reps and all the, the sudden change, that shouldn't probably be an issue now. My expectations, I can't imagine Harry Miller's not starting on this offensive line. So unless Luke Whippler wins the starting job and they kick Harry Miller back out to left guard and undo the big shuffle, I think that, right now, my guess is left to right, Nicholas Petit-Frere, Thayer Munford, Harry Miller, Paris Johnson, Dawand Jones. Am I 5 for 5 there on who you're expecting to start on the offensive line at the Minnesota game in 20-something days?
Ask me again after the scrimmage. But yeah, this is where I am right now.
Yeah,
it's that 5. Stead did say Luke Whippler is really pushing Harry Miller, but Harry Miller is number 1, and Stead loves Harry Miller, and he has for a long time, and so I expect him to be there at center. Yeah, I'm going to go with those 5 for now, and really, I guess that is the 5 we go with until something changes, because it sure seems like they really, really like this group.
Yeah, it that seems like, they always talk about shuffling guys around. You try a bunch of different stuff. You try all sorts of crazy stuff. You see guys, switching positions and that kind of stuff. If you see it for a day, it doesn't mean anything. If you see it for a week or more, it means, okay, there's something here. They know this was practice 6 on Tuesday. They know, okay, 19 practices left until you have to do it for real at Minnesota. They're not going to be wasting a week of reps unless they are seriously thinking about this. I think you almost have to assume that this is what's going to happen. But, can Luke Whippler win a job? Can Matt Jones win a job? There's a bunch of possibilities, but I think, bottom line to me is we'll know more after Saturday. Stud said after Saturday they'll kind of try and have it finalized. But I at this point would be fairly surprised if this wasn't how it happened for Minnesota.
Me too, and we will talk to Kevin Wilson after the scrimmage on Saturday. Maybe he'll give us a little bit more insight. I expect he will tell us Jeremy Ruckert is starting.
I expect to hear that he has to go back and watch the film. I'm expecting that to be a frequent topic of conversation. But yeah, with the quarterbacks, with the offensive line now, we've had a couple different coaching staff members say, get through that first scrimmage. That's when you really want to know. So that's coming up Saturday. That's going to be a very, very big day, very, very big weekend for the Ohio State football program. That's kind of like you've turned the corner. Now you're really starting to lock guys in. There's still a little bit of experimentation. If we see some of these changes, if we see guys repping in a certain order, if we see guys repping in certain spots next week, that tells me this is probably where they're going to go unless something really crazy happens. Yep. So yeah, this is a very, very big weekend coming up. Very, very big week as well. And if you want to know about stuff like, hey, crazy stuff may be changing on the offensive line, or here's the order the quarterbacks are running in right now, or pretty much anything else to do with Ohio State football, the best place to do that is on the Ask the Insiders board at BuckeyeScoop.com. We have a fantastic team of insiders. They are bringing the goods, and turns out they know stuff. Turns out they know stuff before pretty much anyone else knows stuff. It's the darndest thing, and it keeps happening. Maybe they're just lucky guessers. I don't know. I will also be a lucky guesser and tell you that sometime on Wednesday, remember, something exciting is going to happen. We're going to have some very, very exciting news for Buckeye Scoop. Very, very exciting news for Buckeye Scoop members as well. An opportunity to check out a fantastic live event in Columbus that is only going to be open to Buckeye Scoop members. So consider signing up today. It is the price of a lousy chain store pizza. And instead of heartburn, you get great insider access to fantastic live events, and a whole lot more. You get to talk to us. What could be possibly more exciting than that? That's all at BuckeyesScoop.com. Also, at the end of this video, there's going to be a thing pops up that'll have another video you can watch. It'll also have a little circle with the Buckeye Scoop logo. Click on that. That will subscribe you to our YouTube channel. That way, every time we do a live video, we stream live interviews with players and coaches. We post new video. We post new video from practice. Post a new podcast. All of our great content. It's all free on YouTube. All you have to do is subscribe. So click on that little circle thing at the end of the video, and you'll be subscribed to our channel, and you get notified every time we post a new video. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great day. We'll have some exciting information for you just a little bit. Hang on. Just a little bit Wednesday morning. We'll see you then. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll talk to you tomorrow.